in the last session, we actually
Okay, hold on. Now.
Oh, you're killing me. God damn. Gotta edit right from the beginning.
Now.
Sorry. I have no professional training.
I was waiting for the live thing to come up, and you were like, no, go. And I'm like, well, all right, maybe I can't see it.
No, I suck.
Hey, this is practice for you to get the Star
Yeah, my Star Frontiers thing next week, if that actually becomes a thing.
All right.
All right, shoot.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Legends of Tabletop podcast. We're getting ready to jump into our next session of Shadow of the Oak. It's part 2.5, maybe, because we had a prelude. We had a pretty full session last time. We continued on our travels east to get to where the naval investigation was going to take place. But along the way, we were traveling down a path, and there was a side trail that led to a village. And just as we passed, we could hear a little bit of a kerfuffle, but an eagle landed on a branch, which we interpreted it as a sign of Rome helping to solve a problem. So in the nature of the business that we're in, we decided to investigate. As we headed down to see what was going on, the army was there. They were kicking down doors. They were pushing people up against the walls. The town itself was very sort of dilapidated. It was muddy. It seemed like it had been raining for months, although the trail that we were on had been dry. There was one area that looked like it didn't suffer the same fate, which was weird. But there was a guy who was babbling. The army was saying that they were looking for someone who had come and complained and said that they had trouble in town and they needed help. And apparently that man disappeared. The people that we ran into was Curtius Fronto and Votemos. They were there. They came back with the army. They were trying to investigate what was going on. There was an affliction that seemed to just have befallen this town. The people wouldn't talk, said we couldn't help. The guy who disappeared said that a stag had appeared and approached the village and it was going to curse it. Like, that's weird, right? So a couple of the soldiers went missing. So a little party of us went out to go see if we could find them, try to placate the soldiers to not kick down any more doors or kill anybody. And a boar came flying out of the woods, gored the shit out of this one guy. Malachi was able to kill it. Wherein was also helpful in that. They went further afield to go look for the other soldier who had been missing, while we drug the injured soldier back towards the bakery. Herminius was speaking with a woman who seemed to be arguing. Her father was telling her not to talk to us, so we were able to kind of get her off on the side. She wanted Herminius to swear that if the party was going to help, that they would see it through. We did a little bit of a info dump as the group got together. But before that, while they were investigating to see where the last soldier had been, a huge undead stag sauntered out of the woods and started speaking to Votemos and Malachi and said that the soldiers had to leave, that we should leave, that the village should accept the inevitable, and that it was one of the old gods of blood and death. So that's happening. Oh, and we found a dog. So yay. So I guess we're going to pick it up. We were staying in the
just for clarity. I don't think you mentioned that the stag was undead.
I thought I did, didn't I?
All right. Yeah, I just want to make sure. I don't know if I caught that.
So we are staying in the flattened barn of the man who's disappeared along with his entire family.
Yeah, the man who actually contacted the outsiders for help.
Yes. And I'm assuming we do some sort of an info dump as we were sort of like kicking things around. It had sounded like this was potentially, some either Subnigarov itself or versions thereof, spawn of whatever. So I feel like we're kind of all on the same page, right? As Malachi sort of explained that he had experience, and it sounded like Curtius and Votemos also had experience in the Shadow War. So I'm assuming we kind of like sussed that out over the evening.
Right. You were able to, make a small fire, at the edge of the barn and prepare some food and set watches and get to know each other a little bit better and realize you've all fought, the mythos in one fashion or another. So, these are all people also in the know, the unfortunate people who are in the know. But it seems universal that none of you have ever tackled something on this scale. This seems to be an opponent, acting openly, attempting to take control of a village of over, 200 people.
So are we still in the evening, or are we next day? Do we get a little bit of planning in here before we like roll over to the morning?
Well, we'll say it's in the evening if you guys want to talk and coordinate. Okay, Walt.
I actually it was something I wanted to do just before we were getting ready to stop. I wanted to try to see signs. Obviously, there's signs of a struggle, that the house is destroyed, the barn is destroyed, but I wanted to find any kind of remains, blood, any sign that there were actually people in this barn when it was torn down. Because the person we came looking for, we haven't found him. They said he's gone and that he was taken away. I would just like to, for my own peace of mind, try to get some clarification that he's actually dead. They said he's dead, but it's just nagging. I'm a doctor, so I wanted to just sort of look around.
All right, you're going to need to make a spot hidden as you walk kind of the farm. And to be clear, the barn is only a little damaged. It has a little damage on the roof, but the barn itself is still in fairly good shape. The farmhouse, the smokehouse, the chicken coop, every other structure on this farm. And remember, this is a farm that probably had 25 people working it. A large extended family of a few married couples, their children, maybe a married older child. So all those buildings are just destroyed. All the livestock is scattered. You do see, the remains
not
of
just the barn. Oh yeah.
Right. There's the remains of dead animals, like chicken feathers and the head of a, in the mud, there's a head of a sow. And, there's a partially devoured, a dead cow in the field that looks like it was drained of blood. It's got round sores all over its back. Yeah, I think that's going to be a sand check.
Okay. All right. Well, I make the sand check.
All right, you kind of half expected to see that.
Yeah.
Do you make
I didn't do my spot. Oh, okay.
You didn't.
Well, no, I did not make the spot hidden.
All right, you don't find any evidence of human remains or any sort of remains of the family. Make a luck roll while you're walking the farm at twilight.
I make it with a 38.
You get back to the barn fine. No issues. I'm going to be throwing these random, oh my god, you might get yourself killed luck rolls to kind of discourage you from burning all your luck. Because I'm going to use luck every once in a while. So it's not that I don't want you to burn luck. I want you to burn luck when it really matters, like when you really need to. Otherwise, I see people just abuse it. They'll burn like 70 points of luck in one game. for stupid stuff like, oh, I'm going to burn 19 points of luck to identify that perfume. Like, what?
They just had that hunch.
Okay.
Did you find anything outside? Anything interesting?
Well, I had some idea that maybe there was something I was missing, but no, dead animals, devoured animals, house destroyed. Yeah, I mean, looks like I got here too late to help the person I came here to help, but maybe we can help the rest of the town. Does anyone have any particular theories, like any kind of just, brainstorming, any idea of what they think could be happening or where we should strike out next?
I mean, I believe Malachi is our expert in these matters, considering the nature of the threat. Malachi is also muted.
I must say that my experience was strictly as one helped to destroy the beast that I encountered, but I didn't have very much familiarity. I can roll my Cthulhu Mythos though, if I am incredibly lucky, which I am not. I can't say much else really. The fire did seem to work for the beast that we put down, but besides that, I don't know much about them. What motivates them or anything.
Do you think perhaps a different type of sacrifice could be in order? I know that this is not something that we wish to foster or for these powers to gain a foothold in our lands here, but maybe something as a stopgap, perhaps.
Well, we know that they want this creature, this whatever it is, entity wants this offering, a regular offering from the villagers, right? Why these villagers? Is it something that they're local? This beast is local to these woods, and these just happen to be the local source of the energy or whatever it needs?
I mean, there's no way to tell for sure. I feel as if this may just be the first stage. First this village, and then the next village, and the next.
Have there been other villages that have been attacked in such a way?
That's what I was wondering. Could this have happened somewhere else previously, and it's traveling since it's never happened here before? There is that possibility. But I wouldn't know who we would speak to even find out that kind of information.
Have we considered possibly any kind of influence in the town? Possibly some kind of revolutionary element against the empire, or a malcontent in the town that wants this old god to come in and possibly force a rebellion against Rome. We're near a Roman town. We're near a proper resort town where Roman citizens go. This could be the first stage of some kind of an uprising, of forcing it upon these people. One step, they make sacrifices to this god. Next year, it's, okay, start taking up arms against Romans.
I think that's a little too extreme to think that way, but that is a possibility. I think this is more current. Also because of the fact that certain people aren't going with what it's being asked, makes me think that it may not necessarily be directly against the Roman Empire. But I could be wrong.
While they're doing that, I'm over there shining my spear, sharpening my spear, and then I go, hey, what about those ruins that guy mentioned?
Ah, the ruins. Yes.
Wait, what Romans?
That was mentioned. I fell asleep. I'm so sorry. I'm just waking up now. Does anyone remember?
Thank you, Jeannie, for pulling that trigger.
GB has always had the knack to solve that weird riddle, or remember that oddball comment that I'd made in passing and just kind of pull it out of her butt. It's like, it's like, how did everyone miss that? I just nonchalantly dropped that, so I'm not surprised at all. Yes, there was mention that there were a ring of toppled druid standing stones deep in the forest.
Yeah, that's not suspicious whatsoever.
Who said that? Who told us about the? Who told us about the toppled standing stones?
The girl that was helping you. Did anybody write down her name?
I did. It was.
Yes, let me check my notes.
Maradira?
Hold on. I may have written it down.
Maridola?
Maridola? Okay.
Yes, Maridola.
That could be. I can't read my handwriting, so we'll go with that.
Maria Dola, something like that. Give me 1 second.
Yep, I got it.
I mean, we could perhaps investigate the ruins. Do you believe that maybe the creature is tied by some druidic rites to this place?
It could be. I mean, we could always take a look and see if there's anything. I mean, right now we have nothing else to look really into. It might as well.
Wait, do we know which direction these topple stones are? Because if they're in the same direction as the beast that we saw earlier, I'm not quite sure you all want to go in that direction.
What are the odds that those strange druidic ruins are on the other side of that undead stag that scared the piss out of you earlier today?
Those
I'm
are
not
the
Nostradamus or anything, but he doesn't even exist yet. So,
Red herring.
The other place that we could investigate is the farm that we had passed while out looking for the soldiers. They apparently threw their lot in with the creature. Maybe they know something that the rest of the town does not.
So you guys want to first go to the farm and then try to hit the ruins?
It is closer.
All right, sounds good.
I would.
No,
please.
no.
I would think that they must have had a very good reason to make a sacrifice, especially of that kind. So I'm hoping they do know more information.
I believe.
Do think.
No, go ahead, Curtius. Yes.
Oh no, thank you. I think that when we last spoke about that farm, that we kind of came to the that we were getting the impression that they were a poor family, that they were the poorest, unluckiest family in the village, and that they came to great luck after making their sacrifice, but that they weren't trying to lord it over the town. So I don't know if I don't think anybody here was, but just in case we were kind of leaning towards them being villainous, I think we maybe take a more tactful approach.
I
perhaps try to win there.
I don't think it was villainous, so to say, but the thought of possibly sacrificing one of their children, to some people, they look down upon that, which is understandable. I don't think that...
Wait a minute. Some people?
There's some people out there. I've met some pretty interesting people before, so,
I think Romans take a very dim view of human sacrifice. Animal sacrifice, but no, legitimately, I think
legal,
Romans
actually.
Yeah.
Like murder, that would be murder, which is the worst crime. Still illegal.
Indeed, their young blind daughter is missing. At least that's what we were told.
But I do agree. I don't think that because they went from having so little to being the only one that's not hurting right now doesn't show that they're trying to be malicious at all. I think just that they complied with the demands. And everyone's just not okay with that. So I'm hoping that they have more information because they made that decision and they must have had a good reason for it.
Just to remind everyone, the family, that was the family of T-Men.
Mhm.
And their teenage blind daughter who's now missing was Joseph.
Somebody write that down because I don't got a pencil.
Okay, so the plan is to, try and get some sleep and start speaking to villagers in the morning, and hopefully by the afternoon start a search into the forest.
I think so, yeah. Before we cut out, though, Macrion goes and sits down next to Herminius and says, Herminius, you've been relatively quiet during the discussions. Do you have anything that you want to add before we pack it in for the night? I can't quite hear you. Speak up, please.
I prefer, I am simply taking all this in, and I prefer to save my judgments for closer to the necessary date. But yes, I am definitely
yes, of course,
observing.
Always astute.
He takes a bite of his plum.
He's always eating.
Astute? I thought he was Syrian.
But he's like
okay.
He's just always eating something.
I need everyone to make a luck roll and tell me if anyone gets a hard or an extreme.
I got a hard.
I failed.
Just make it. I just make it.
Okay, make a hard or an extreme.
No,
regular,
no.
Regular won't cut it.
No. Just regular.
I got a hard.
All right, GB. This is like maybe an hour before dawn. You had the morning watch, so you'd had a few hours sleep. You hear someone moving near the farm. Movement on a farm is not a big deal, but all the animals here are dead and nobody else is here but you. So you hear something moving around near the building outside.
Is anybody else up? Or is am I on watch? What's going on?
I think you were morning watch. Everybody else is probably still out.
And so am I the only one on watch, or is there somebody else with me on watch so that I can let them know?
I mean, you can wake anybody. We're probably all sacked out.
All right.
I'm a light sleeper.
Malachi, I tap him because I know he's my fighting buddy. And I said, and I just point out, nod over outside, and then.
All right, I sit up and listen too.
Roll a listen.
All right. 46, which will do it. 74. So that's 46 out of 74.
You hear someone breathing around the side of the building. They're trying to stay hidden, but they're rather bad at it. I mean, controlling your breathing is kind of like the foundation of stealth. So this person is hidden, but they're giving their position away. So it's not someone very skilled at stealth.
All right.
But there's definitely someone around the corner, kind of hugging against the barn.
Is there a way for us to like one go one side and one go the other side and kind of like do a pincer maneuver on him?
Easily.
All right, let's go.
All right.
We're gonna do our stealth, right?
All right, you come around and roll a spot hidden, because you're not lighting torches or bringing a light source, right? Or are you?
We don't want to
No.
give us ourselves away.
Okay.
Make
you
it.
guys are actually good at stealth.
GB, you see a small figure kind of half concealed under a dark cloak in the shadows. They're hidden fairly well, but again, they've given away their position with heavy breathing, and they're clearly visible. Malachi, do you see them?
Just barely, yes.
Okay, you both see them.
Okay.
So as soon as you guys get close, this figure starts moving, but you've got people on both sides. Like, he sees Malachi, doesn't see Votemos, so he actually turns the other way and starts running, and literally like slams right into Votemos. So you've got this person, and it's a young man. He's probably about 11 or 12, not quite a man in the community, but old enough that he would be taking on more adult tasks on a farm. He appears very scared, and he doesn't look to be armed.
And who do we have here?
He says, "Don't hurt me. I wasn't doing anything."
Except sneaking around.
Yeah, are you trying to spy on us?
I just wanted to make sure that you were still here. I wasn't sure what to do.
Still here, as in alive?
As you haven't left yet.
Why? What's wrong? What do you mean you don't know what to do?
He says, and he starts crying.
Oh boy! All right.
And he starts babbling.
Do we wanna...
He starts babbling in Brythonic. And he,
I wake
GB,
up.
Do you speak Brythonic, GB? I think you do.
Me? Let me see. That's a good question. Let's see. It's gonna take me a second to find it. No, I speak Latin.
Do you don't have other language?
That is my other language.
What's your own language?
Where would I find that?
I think it would just be language.
Language. Okay. My own language is at 70, but it doesn't list what it is. So if it's
Brythonic, all right,
it would
I'm sure it would be Brythonic because you're from Britain.
Okay.
So he's basically saying it's my brother. Everything went to hell last night. We're not, my father says that we're all going to starve unless we do what the dark stag tells us.
So your father's thinking about doing accepting and doing a sacrifice?
He says we don't have any choice. He says all of our chickens came down. They're all sick. Half of them are dying. The eggs they're laying are all rotten. Yesterday, all of our stores of milk and cheese, even the root cellar, a mold's gotten into everything. At this point, it starts like lightly snowing in the pre-dawn. And he
Right,
says,
let's
Haikon
go
is
inside.
running. Haikon is
Let's go
running
in-
a high fever. He's always been sickly. Okay, so they come in with this kid who's just like terrified and nervous.
Listen, I know how to hit things. I don't know how to comfort things.
Just babbling in Brythonic.
Does the boy show any signs of injury or sickness or any
Borderline malnutrition?
Well, is that borderline malnutrition as I would understand it, or what's just normal here for these people?
Well, it's not normal for these people.
Okay.
I mean, these farms are usually able to support all of the families here. It's just, but normal for what you've seen, what you've observed coming through the area.
Oh, okay. So,
I hug the boy. I kind of just give him like a little bit of comfort and just pet his head a little bit.
Okay, and he basically says that you start to pick up that his family was hit hard over the last few days, and at this point they don't have enough food to support the family through the winter. And he's saying that my father says that if we don't give one of us isn't given to the dark stag, hunger will claim everyone else before spring.
I offer words of comfort and let the boy know that we are here to look into this. We're here to try to help. I thank him for coming to us, for giving the information that he did, and kind of just keep hugging him to keep him calm so he doesn't kind of make any noises for other people to hear it.
He says that he needs to get back. He was supposed to be burying all the dead chickens and bringing in whatever eggs were left to check them. He said he ran off here hoping that maybe you could help before anything happened to Haikon.
When are they planning to do something to him?
I don't know. The grown-ups are talking about it, but I've heard them whispering his name. Haikon usually gets hives every autumn, and almost every winter he's sick. He was always a sickly child, but he's my younger brother and I've always looked after him. But he's sick again, and now we don't have any food. We can't even make a proper soup for him. I don't know. We've seen other people die of fevers in bad winters. But I don't know what to do. But he does tell you that his farm is the next one over from the farm that's already made the pact, or you suspect has made the pact.
All right, so I definitely think we should go look at that farm.
So I tell the boy it's okay to go back. Don't tell anyone that you've come here, and just kind of reassure him that we're doing the best that we can, and just to have a little faith.
He actually laughs when you say that.
I laugh back and say, listen, I'm not a woman of faith, but we all need to have it when things get dark. And
He says, I've prayed until my knees have bled. It doesn't change anything. He said, you said in town that you could help us. He goes, if I have to put my faith in anything, I want to put my faith in you.
We are here to do the best that we can. We're
He
trying
says,
to find out more because we don't know a lot right now. But
Quick,
the more information
quick
we
question.
get,
Do you know
Yes.
anything about the ruins?
I've never been there, but I'm told that they're deep in the forest.
What is-
Any idea as to why people are not allowed to go there?
It was a place of the Druids, and we're not allowed to worship there anymore.
Why are you not allowed to worship there anymore?
He says, well, we haven't been since since the dark times, since the rebellion. The Romans put down the Druidic order.
How long ago was that?
That was in the early to mid 80s, and it's like 145, 146 now.
Okay.
But roll your empire, Malachi.
Can I as well?
Yes. If the scholar bones this, it's going to be embarrassing.
I got 28 under 75, so it's a hard.
The Druids were a religious order that kind of solidified they were the only stabilizing force keeping the British tribes from tearing each other apart. In a kingdom of warlords and small kingdoms, the Druids were the glue that kept them as a society. And when the Romans came, the Druids sided heavily, almost universally, with Brythonic independence from Rome, to the point where they were responsible for most of the rebellions against Rome, riling up the tribes to resist the Roman oppressors. So the Romans took the Druidic order as a group of religious zealots sowing dissent. Malachi, this seems very familiar to you, considering that you're a refugee from the Third Jewish War, where much the same thing happened in the East. When religion mixes with military rebellion, it can be very dangerous. And to be fair, with the Druids gone, there hasn't been a huge rebellion in a generation or so.
They put them down quite savagely.
Oh, very brutally, yeah.
Yeah, crucifixion.
It makes sense that they wouldn't allow them to worship there, but I'm surprised it wasn't knocked down.
The kid says, well, the kid's not here anymore. You sent him back.
The standing stones were knocked down, though, right?
They were.
Oh, they were.
Down.
Okay, yeah.
They were, yeah.
But they're still there. I mean, they were massive.
Yeah,
we're not talking not quite Stonehenge, but on I mean, you haven't seen it, but you can imagine it's a pretty sizable monument.
Do we
the
know
big
any?
menhirs were like 8 feet by like 2-3 feet.
Mm-hmm.
But they're huge. Yeah.
Malachi?
We still don't know any connection, though, really, between them and the stones and the dark stag, though, do we?
Well, Macrion, you also remember that the Druids had a great connection with the natural world. They worship nature and were said to wield great magic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I believe that.
So could this be a creature that's still roaming free after some dark Druid sect raised it or something. I mean, it's hard not to see some kind of connection, right?
I mean, it's possible. They worshipped a male spirit, a Kiernanos, I believe, represented as a man with stag's horns, emblematic of the Druids.
I have a 65 in Natural World. Would I be able to roll to see if I get anything out of this? I feel like I should know something about this, but...
Roll. And roll your occult.
Okay. I'll do Natural World first. I pass Natural World. I have 65. I got 48. And then Occult, I have a 20. And I get a 19. Holy crackers.
I'm going to give you two things. Everything that's happened here almost everything that's happened here can exist in the natural world. A boar can go crazy and attack someone. Mold can get into a root cellar. Rain can be persistent and ruin crops. A blight can go through a cornfield, and ruin the grain. A sickness can make animals lame or sick enough that they die in mass, especially in a chicken coop.
Mm-hmm.
For all of these things to be happening at once, we're talking 1,000,000 to 1 odds.
Yeah.
And so that's your natural world. Your occult is, well, the Druids had magic that they were herbalists and healers and they were in tune with nature. And some of the legends say that they could bring rain or they could remove blight from crops and heal animals and, bring peace between warring tribes. All of this seems to be the opposite of that.
Phoebe, can you mute while you're moving stuff around? Thank you.
Well,
I thought I was muted.
Now, obviously, the abnormal rain, that's abnormal rain. But the village closest to the one that made the deal, they're starting to suffer all of these calamities. I'm just putting it out there. Could it be somebody in the town deliberately sabotaging them, not necessarily through magical means, but okay, this town, this farm acquiesced. Now the farm next to them start putting the screws to them, make them acquiesce, then watch each farm as in turn roll over until you have them all, or until they all start coming along in mass because they're terrified.
Could this be happening to all of them at the same time and we're only hearing from one farm, though?
It could be happening, but Doreena, with your occult and natural world success, no, without magic, the type of things we're talking about would be almost impossible to happen all at once. You don't know how, without magic, someone would be able to, bring blight to fruit, to vegetables in a root cellar, or to make all of the eggs rotten. Somebody could go and poison a well or set some hay on fire, but just to sour all the milk in like a herd of cows, that's something beyond what a human saboteur with an axe to grind could accomplish.
Yes. Curtis, forgive me if I misunderstood you. What you thought was that each farm is getting hit at once, and then we see if they do it or not, and then it goes to the next. Not every farm is dealing with this all at once. That's what I needed to clarify. I apologize for that.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. I was trying to put out the idea that the weakest village, the weakest farm acquiesced. Everybody's still hemming and hawing. Whoever it is behind all of this hits another farm next door to them. then they acquiesce, sacrifice one of their children. Then everybody either falls in line all at once because they're terrified, or you just hit the next farm closest and move on until you get everybody falling in line. It seems like the stag, and I'm just going to refer to this villain as the stag. It seems the stag's plan is to just basically, all right, I'm going to scare you, I'm going to force you, and then eventually you'll either all come along or you'll all suffer enough calamities that I'm just trying to.
It seems a solid theory on the strategy.
Yes, forgive my my lack of knowledge on this, but Macrion or Curtius, perhaps you could fill this in a little bit. But I'm assuming, and what I get is that the likelihood that this stag has just manifested on its own is highly unlikely, and I do not think, and I think we all can agree on this, that nobody within the town has brought it about. What exactly would it take for someone from the outside, someone with knowledge, to bring this creature forth, especially from such a deteriorated henge?
Herminius, roll your occult.
Which is not that great. That's a 31 out of 20.
Okay. Right. Well, anybody can roll their occult. Or Cthulhu Mythos.
Ooh, 52 under 55.
One of the fundamental and the most horrific forms of dark magic is the animation of the dead.
Juvie got a 6.
Oh, yeah. See, you often find, dark wizards or sorcerers, animating the dead to do their bidding. Part of Roman folklore and tradition is, the protection of corpses so they can be properly buried, so that these things don't happen. The Romans had a huge fear of what witches could do to a dead body. So that was why they liked to cremate rather than bury. And they liked to have holy rites on remains and have traditions of like pouring milk on the graves of their ancestors on certain holy days to keep the dead at rest. The Romans had a firm belief in the walking dead. It would mark a dangerous sorcerer to have that power. But any dangerous sorcerer really worthy to call themselves, a true master of the dark arts, that would be almost a fundamental magic they'd have to master.
So
give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Macrion.
Yes.
Well, actually, I'm sorry. Macrion and Malachi. I haven't seen this stag. So part of me, I have no desire to see the stag. It's obviously horrible. But part of me is still suspects that rather than being the direct intervention of a god, it's somebody trying to pretend like that's happening. Using magic, obviously, but part of me almost wants to see this stag to see whether it actually is what it says it is, whether it's not. All joking aside, not two guys wearing a rotting stag skin. And
yes, Curtius, that was exactly my assumption as well.
All joking aside, it's like two wizard, wizard, but still somebody who needs to put on has to use some kind of mundane theatrics. I
mean,
understand, Malachi. You've seen it, so I wouldn't.
It wasn't
cast
so
any-
mundane. Yeah, it certainly wasn't so mundane. I'll
granted.
say, but I can't speak to what might have been animating it, but it was far from mundane.
Granted.
We have all seen things during our time in the Shadow War. If there is a wizard, and indeed that could be the case, but that would make the stag just as real as you or I.
Which would make it a far less formidable foe than we initially thought.
Perhaps, if a wizard is able to animate dead flesh, it may have other powers as well. But if it is indeed corporeal and physical, then we may be able to destroy it nevertheless.
Yes, what I am just trying to suss out here is what our true target is. If indeed this stag is some druidic spirit here to collect fees and power, then so be it. But if this is just simply some walking corpse being controlled by a sorcerer or sorceress, then we need to shift our eyes onto a more important goal.
We all believe that the blind girl, Josette, is missing. But we've never spoken to the farm, the people who live at the farm. Going off of what you gentlemen are speaking of, that our assumption of this person being missing may not be true. I would like to go speak to the people who live in the farm and see if this young lady is still there.
True. Honestly, we've gone over a few options, but until we actually start to put feet on the ground and actually go to where the victims of this are and try to find out whether they are actually dead, whether we don't know anything. I suggest perhaps we rest, keep a watch, and head out when we're ready.
It is morning, by the way.
Oh.
The kid had come like right at pre-dawn.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure.
He was doing his
sleep
chores and snuck off. So by now, after you had this conversation, you've all like had a little bit of breakfast, and the sun is now up.
We need to let Votemos in too.
Oh, sorry.
So wasn't it? Was it noon today that the first offering was supposed to be provided?
I'm not sure if there was a timetable.
Okay, I thought there was some sort of timetable. But...
we had stalled by sending the Romans away. Said either the Romans leave or I want to sack. The Romans have to be gone by noon.
Right.
And we sent the soldiers away, and then we got in, disguises or whatever we thought that was we were doing. We just put some dirty rags on ourselves and walked away. Oh no, we're not Romans at all.
Actually, why do we feel like that probably wasn't convincing?
If the stag is Shub-Niggurath, no. If the stag is just some guy, then yes, maybe.
Just some guy who can animate dead creatures.
As long as it's not a god, dude.
He has a point.
All right.
As long as it's not a god. Dude. I don't think I can fool a god. I probably can fool a person, an insane necromancer.
Should we all go to the farm together, or do you believe that may be too much?
Well, there are two farms with things happening now. You did promise that kid you would try and help.
Each take up split 6 people, 2 teams of 3, each take a fighter.
That should
Okay.
work.
We also did want to look at the ruins as well.
I think that's a whole party here.
Oh, you sure you don't want to break that into 3 groups? Send 2 people to go look at the ruins?
I can
No,
go.
not even I'm that foolish.
Take a solo walk, someone.
Let's just send somebody out to whistle. Break up into 6, and one person just skips through the tulips whistling.
All right, so there's the farm of Teeman, and the farm of Jago. Jago is the one that the kid snuck off to try and talk to you.
I would go there. I think I would probably be better served there.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I want to go to, not to the little boy that I promised, but to the other family. I want to see if there are any signs of a blind young girl. I have a feeling that by taking a look around, certain types of footing, I might be able to notice someone who can't necessarily see, may not have the exact footprints of somebody who can. A lot of assumptions here, but that's what I want to do.
Well, that's not really assumptions. I mean, it's exactly what you suggested it earlier. That's exactly what you should be looking for. Yes. So, I will go to Jago, which is the village, which is the farm where the boy came from.
Okay.
Where came from? I'll go there.
So, tell me who your 2 teams are, and which scene you want to do first.
Okay, so I think some warrior people should go with each team, just so we're covered.
But we take a fighter each. GB, you want to come with me, or should I
Sure.
take? Okay.
Covered.
So, Curious, you're leading the team to which farm?
I think Jago.
That's the one with the kid, and he's worried they're going to off his brother.
Yes.
And Macrion, you're leading the others.
No, I'm with them.
Oh, you're
It's
with
me,
them.
Curtius, and Votemos.
So it's Doreena, Herminius, and Malachi to the farm that you suspect the blind girl's gone and been sacrificed. All right, so let's do Herminius, Doreena, and Malachi. Let's do that scene first. So if you guys want to grab a cup of tea, you can. So these farms are next to each other, so the bunch of you travel together, up the road, and you realize these farms are not only close to each other, they're the second and third closest to the forest. The closest to the forest was actually the farm you were staying at. So as you get there again, you can see how different the area around this farm looks from the other. I mean, their crops don't seem wilted. Their animals don't seem healthy. Not bursting with abundance. Not like, just not like amazingly prosperous. They're just not as depressed as everywhere else. And you realize this is what a normal farm in this community should look like, possibly, a little bit better than normal for this plot of land. But you can tell this family will be okay through the winter. They're not going to be, rolling in dough. They're not going to have much profit, but they'll be comfortable and able to survive. You see the smokehouse is going. They've probably killed an animal recently. And, as you kind of come onto the property, everybody kind of like looks at you and then looks away. Like no one's stopping you from coming onto the property, but nobody really wants to make eye contact with you.
So I'm assuming there's probably a main structure of sorts.
Right. There's a
that we could
big
kind of point
round
ourselves
house with a
towards.
thatched roof where most of the family lives communally.
Can I roll for insight?
Sure.
An 8.
What are you looking at? What are you curious about?
People looking at us. Are they good poker face or just
They're ashamed.
got it? All right.
Okay.
They did something.
So as you
What?
approach, a man comes out of the main house, an older man. And he takes a breath looking at you as approaching the main house and says, Elisa, my cousin, so nice of you to come. He goes, it's been an age since you've come for a visit. And he comes over and he kind of kisses you on both cheeks. And as he does that, he squeezes your shoulder.
I cannot believe it has been this long.
He says, please, come, bring your husband and brother into the house.
I grab my husband. I wave on my which was my husband anyway? Who do I get to just grab us on. We go in, all smiles and dandy as we walk in.
As you go into the house, he closes the door and he nods to a woman. You assume it's a wife or an older daughter. And she closes the shutters on the windows in this room. And he kind of brings you into another room that's in the interior of the house where there are no windows. It's like the common room where the main hearth is. And he says, you should have not come here.
Why?
He says, it's dangerous. It's dangerous for you and it's dangerous for all of us.
Why is it dangerous for you?
He says, we have an accord. My farm will be left alone. I did what I could to save my family.
So the accord is for you to do what you need to do and not to speak to anyone? I understand a certain part. I just want to know why I cannot be here and why that affects you.
He says, we're not allowed to talk to outsiders anymore.
Anymore? Even if you made the accord?
Yes, especially if I've made the accord.
Does anyone else know you made the accord?
I'm sure everyone suspects. My farm's the only one not rotting on the vine. He says, we're not proud of what we did, but have you ever seen a child starve?
Yes,
No.
I sure have.
He says, then you know. He says, I couldn't. I couldn't. The thought of going through a winter where I knew a third of us wouldn't be here in the spring from hunger. If some creature didn't come out of the forest and kill us all in our sleep. He says, I love my daughter. I don't care what people say. But, she understood in the end. She understood that she was giving her life to save all of ours. He says, I have to live with that.
And what proof did you have to show?
He says, my farm remains untouched. He says, I don't have a single sick animal. Every other farm...
No. Yeah. I mean in terms of to the spirit. What proof of your sacrifice did you have to show to it?
There was no need for proof. He took her.
Did he do anything in front did he do anything in front of you or just took her away?
The stag met us at the base of the dry river bed in the forest, and he bid the girl to follow. She was blind. He said to lay his hand upon his antler, and it led her away.
Okay.
She told me as she left that she forgave me and to take care of her brothers and sisters.
Did you only ever speak to the dark stag?
Yes. He says, don't you understand? If he sees that you're here, all of our sacrifices will be for naught. We'll have to renew the pact.
Mm-hmm. He
says, I've lost one. I don't have to lose another for 5 years. He goes, if he knows you're here, he'll demand another.
How long has he been coming and demanding from this village?
Only about 3 weeks ago.
Have you ever heard of any other villages in this region having any such issue like this?
No, nothing like this.
How do you know he's watching?
He seems to always be watching.
You mentioned
he says the one man who went for help, he knew. And that family's gone now. They were good people. They were my neighbors. They're my friends. There were 32 people on that farm.
And how did they die?
We boarded it. We closed our doors and boarded our windows when we heard the screams. We waited and listened and prayed someone would make it out of the farm to knock on our doors and we'd give them shelter, but none of them did. I don't know how they died, but they didn't die well.
Has anybody been to the farm since?
Only you, from what I can tell. I don't know what you want from me, and I don't know what you want me to tell you. Because I am as trapped as a bear staked out in a field for hunters.
Do you have any idea why this creature would come to your village? And 3 weeks ago, did something happen prior to that?
No, nothing that any of us did. Trust me, if we had offended any god to bring this down upon us, we would have made whatever sacrifice necessary to remove the curse. One day the stag appeared. It wanted supplies. It wanted food and bread and cheese left on the standing stone, and it promised us, rain and protecting us from blight. And when everyone ignored it, tragedy started to befall us.
So it actually offered protection first, and then when that was refused, then it started asking for more?
He says, yes, protection, like any collegiate, meaning mob. He says, protection from itself.
Mm-hmm.
Things have always been hard, especially on my farm. But to make it harder still.
Has anyone gone missing recently? Prior to this happening?
Prior to this, no. Sure, someone would get lost in the woods and possibly drown if there was a flood, or a wolf would take someone, who'd gotten too drunk and gotten lost coming home, but nothing out of the ordinary.
Can I roll insight? I got a 1.
He is too emotionally exhausted to lie. I mean, he's trying to be strong for his family, but you can tell he's hanging by a thread. And him telling you this is a way to reassure himself that he made the right choice, but you can tell he's second guessing himself at every turn.
So no inkling if anyone else is with us right now.
No.
Okay.
Not from him. He appears to be honest. He says, is it true that you're a witch hunter? Is it true that you've come to put a stop to all of this?
That is true. We are here to hopefully resolve this situation as quickly as possible. That is why we are here to visit you, to get as much information as we can in order to divest exactly what the problem is.
He says, then please act quickly, because it's only a matter of time before he knows that you are here. I don't want to lose any more of my children or grandchildren. He goes, and I know that he's got the stag has his sights on every farm in this valley.
How do you know?
He says, I heard a lot of commotion on the neighboring farm this morning. It seems that a blight has gone through their chickens, and I think the stag is trying to consolidate its territory. It seems to be targeting the farms nearest to the woods, but it'll spread throughout the entire village, I'm sure.
Why the woods?
That's where it dwells. That's where we must take our sacrifices. That's where we must leave our tributes.
Is that by the riverbed that you mentioned earlier?
Yes, the base of the dry riverbed. It only floods in bad weather.
Is that by the old ruins?
The riverbed empties into where the standing stones were, yes.
Do you know what happened to those stones?
The soldiers knocked them down when they drove the army west.
How long ago was that?
Oh, my great-grandfather's time.
How did everyone feel about that? How do you feel about that?
I don't really have much of an opinion. I'm a Roman citizen. He goes, these are things that happened 2 generations ago. I'm not much for politics. I'm a farmer.
What about the old inhabitants of the area? The Druids who may have put the standing stones up. I'm assuming that the soldiers as well ran them out.
I'm sure that they did. As for Druids, I couldn't say when the last time a true Druid dwelled here. But my people, the Artabates, have been on these lands for generations. Before the time of the Romans.
You mentioned true Druids. Are there ones that are not?
Oh, you get a huckster and a hedge wizard every once in a while, pulling a raven out of his sleeve, demanding some food or drink. No one with real power.
Has anyone
I've seen my fair share of them.
Has anyone come by recently?
No.
Not in the past.
Not in recent memory. Not since I was a boy.
Gentlemen, do you have any other questions you wish to ask?
I do believe that we have put this family through enough at this moment, and perhaps making our visit as short as possible as to not be seen might be a good idea.
I appreciate that.
I strongly suggest we walk out the same way we came in, greeting as such, just to save face.
Yes. Which farm? Could you point us in the direction?
He actually says, "Please let me at least give you some food." He said, "I'm the only." He says, "No, I insist." He says, "And if you see any of my neighbors, could you please take them some as well?" And he actually makes a basket of, some salted meat and some a few loaves of bread and a wheel of cheese. And he says that, I'm untouched because of my sin. He says, but if I can spare my neighbors from having to go down the same path, I would like to help you.
That we will do for you.
He says, and tell them that I have not abandoned my neighbors. We had no choice. They have to understand that.
We can
And
help
hopefully
them
we
understand.
can act quickly so that we spare them from the choice that you have made.
Okay, so that's your scene.
I want to make sure we walk out and I scream goodbye, brother, and not scream, but
Right.
save face as we walk out, just to
All right,
ensure.
I need the three of you to make a luck roll.
Oh, crap.
And this is going to be important. If you can't burn luck to make a luck roll.
I got a 4.
41 out of 65.
58.
I think it's like a crit. Yeah.
58 out of 65.
Okay. All right. Your visit will not be noticed.
Ugh.
That's why I didn't make any promises.
Okay.
I'd be lying.
So meanwhile, at the Jago farm,
What's our play as we
as you come over to the farm, you see that they're piling up chickens in a ditch to bury them. They probably have about 30 dead chickens. You see people tending to sheep in a pen, and they're frantically kind of trimming away bits of fur, and they look very upset, and and the whole farm, everything here is just muddy and trampled, and everyone here looks just defeated.
Macrion, before we enter the town, I was wondering, would there be a way to identify? I see a lot of people working. Presumably, some of them have their shirts off. Would there be ways to identify?
Now everyone's bundled up. It's November.
Or markings, or
I mean, yes, it's a good thought. Some cults will use identifying marks, but I'm not sure, unless it's quite visible, that would be able to tell anything.
I'm just hoping somebody during the, whether or not they're occultists here, they'd be still working to try and take care of all this. They might let something slip.
Perhaps we should be on our guard, of course. The stones will be interesting to look at later if they are inscribed. Yeah. We may be able to glean some information there. But what is our play here aside from information?
I would like to just, for my part, observe the people, the animals, anything to see if there's natural signs of any kind of poison or foul play. Not just, okay, oh, these chickens, these animals just suddenly came down. They were somehow sabotaged. I'm still working the sabotage angle.
Good plan. We should be able to hopefully rule that out then, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you guys come onto the property, you notice people have noticed you. They don't get a lot of strangers in a small rural, village like this. And immediately word goes out, and you see younger people running and going towards the main house. And before you even get to the main house or deep into the farm, you see about half a dozen men with with pitchforks and threshers, and they point at you guys and they said, "You did this. Get off of our property."
So Macrion looks to Votemos and Curtius, and he just, sort of puts his hands up and he says, I believe that the problems here started long before we arrived. We wish to help if we may.
He says, "You've done enough." He says, "You see what's going on here?" He says, "I have maggots eating my sheep." He says, "Most of my chickens are dead. The ones that aren't dead are sick and will be soon." He says, "My hay is just, you came to help and you just made things worse. How are you going to solve this?"
Do you really think we made this worse? Don't you think that this would have happened no matter what? Unless you started killing your own family members?
Make a persuade. That's not a bad argument.
Got a very low
And I keep telling you guys to look.
I give the thumbs up. I'm assisting.
Okay.
But I actually rolled a 6.
He says, "I don't see how we have much of a choice now anyway."
I was like, I'll speak up. It's like, sir, is there anybody, I'm a doctor, is there anybody on your farm that possibly I could help? Anybody who's unwell? I would like to try and help, even if it's just on a person to person.
Okay. At that point, you see the kid that you spot that kind of came to you for help, and he just like tugs on his father's arm and he whispers to him, and his father like glares at him, and he's like, he just says in Brythonic, "Please, what harm could he do? The man's a doctor."
Ooh, can I roll? I have 30%.
Sure.
Oh, I got a 21.
Okay. He says, "Thank you for your kindness. My younger son is a little under the weather."
Yes. Gladly. I'd gladly take a look at him. And
they let you into the house, and there's a sickly child here, and we can roll a medicine.
Okay. I make it.
Okay. It appears that he has it's basically a low level a weakness in his lungs, a sickness in his lungs, with hot food, rest, warm bedding. He could be fine in a week, but you think. What did you roll? Did you roll a hard success?
No, just a regular success.
There may be some underlying reason for the persistent nature of his illness, but you think you could cure this bout fairly easily under the right conditions. But whether he gets sick again in a few weeks or a few months, you're not sure why he's susceptible to these illnesses.
Do they have separate rooms? Does he share a room with his brother?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I see where they stay?
Okay. You want to do some investigation and roll another medicine?
Yes.
Okay.
That is a hard success.
Okay.
30 out of 80.
Give me 1 second to look something up.
Okay.
Okay. So you're looking over at all of this, environmental causes and this, that, and the other. And then you notice the kid, when he talks, he has a weird odor to his breath.
Mhm.
And you ask to see his teeth, and he has a rotten molar that's probably causing persistent infections that's, going into his lungs and making him sick. With a minor surgical procedures of pulling the tooth and giving him some decent care, you think you could stop these reoccurring infections.
Okay, I relate all of that to the father, and just if he would like to, if I could take him, if I could just, do I have a clean spot here that clean? I don't really understand.
This place is wrecked. You could perform it here, but the conditions are so damp.
Yeah.
That you don't think this kid will. You could do this. You could pull the tooth,
but it's just getting infected.
Yeah, the infection. It'll be very dangerous after you remove it, because it'll have to be monitored to keep the infection from spreading rapidly. Like there'll be it probably would be better to like nurse him through this set of infection, this illness, and then pull the tooth.
Right.
But this is treatment that will take weeks. Like you could make this kid better and cure his recurring problem, but it would take conditions that they can't provide here at this time, and it would take you a couple of weeks.
All right, I relate that to the father and say that as far as his child being sick due to the curse, really he just has a bad tooth.
He says no, he's always been sickly.
No.
He was like this before the stag came.
Yeah. Would that I could find such an easy solution to all of the sickness here.
He says, unfortunately, one is being offered.
Do you have do you share a well with any of the other farms?
No, we have our own.
You have your own. Could I possibly take a look there?
You do, but it seems fine.
Okay.
You don't find any environmental cause for the blight.
As I'm going, I try to be as subtle as possible, but not really. I mean, am I seeing anybody, the same people, watching us all the time as we're moving around?
Make a spot hidden.
Give me this one. Can I burn luck for this one? No?
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. Let me just do some of that math. Some of that there, fancy math. I got to drop it by. I got to burn 25 luck.
Ooh.
I wouldn't do that,
dude. Yeah,
no.
That's a lot.
Yeah. No. Okay. I fail.
You have people with you. You could tell them to be looking too.
Yeah. No. I give them the subtle version of.
Yeah. Keep an eye out.
Can I use my spot for that then?
Yes.
Okay.
I rolled a 3. I'm like sitting over here, like I'm still using my.
Curtius's suspicion that someone on this farm may be in league with the forces. You don't see that panning out. Everybody who's looking at you, is looking at you with a mix of skepticism and hope. No one seems, to be sizing you up, or these are simple, farmers. They're not usually socially subtle.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see any signs of like people sending a messenger off into the woods while you're here. Everybody seems really concerned with taking stock of what has been damaged or infected or blighted overnight.
So Dick Dastardly isn't off to the corner rubbing his hands while
No,
Mark
no.
laughs. Okay, just in case.
Macrion asks then, he says, has anyone in recent memory been to the Standing Stones?
He says no one goes out that way. That area is, since the time of my grandparents, no one's gone out there.
Do you know whether or not there are any markings upon the stones? Has anyone said?
I laid eyes on the stones once. There are markings upon it. When I was a younger man hunting, following a wounded stag, I thought that it would be crueler to let the beast die and rot than risk the taboo of following it near the stone. But that was in my youth. And I went nowhere near it. I got close enough to see it, but went nowhere near it.
And there have been no druids in these parts for many years?
No true ones.
Do you get many outsiders that come through the area?
He says, no, we don't even have a road linking us to the main road.
Curious? Quick question. Have any, over the last few weeks or maybe the last couple of months, have you had many visitors from Aqua Selenis?
We never get visitors. Almost no one even knows that we're here. Like I said, we don't have a link to the main road.
Yes.
And there's nowhere here to, there's nothing here for people to visit. We're not prosperous enough to sell our produce or our livestock elsewhere. We pretty much raise what we need. There are times that we'll go into town to purchase something we can't produce here, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
He said, I doubt most people even know this village exists.
And no patrols from the town? No?
None, never.
Except when we just came.
You were the first soldiers we'd ever seen. Well, in the town.
And there isn't nobody from Aqua Selenis coming from there to here, but the one young man who unfortunately I seem to have brought to some ruin except by offering to help him. Have other villagers gone to that town for supplies, to work?
Yes, every once in a while someone will go to Aqua Selenis, but it's very infrequent. Usually if someone's sick and they need to go make an offering at the temple and visit the healing waters. If someone were getting married and we wish to purchase a bottle of fine wine to celebrate, we'd send someone. But for us, it's quite a trek. We don't have many, we don't have horses here. So it's usually more than a day's walk.
As he's talking, just all the things I've asked him about people coming and going from the village insight to see if he's being dishonest.
Very good. Please don't bone this roll.
No, I make it. Regular.
He's hiding something.
Any idea along what path he's hiding? No?
He gets nervous every time he mentions that that people probably don't even know this town exists and that we don't have a link to the main road.
We did come off a trail from the main road.
Yeah, the boy did travel here directly. So, and he stole a horse from a
merchant on the road. Yeah,
from a merchant on the road. Do merchants come through here often?
No. He says no. And you also notice he mentioned that soldiers never come here either.
Yeah, which that's...
And I suspect that's a lie because didn't they come in and destroy the...
That was like
okay.
ages and ages ago. I'll allow you guys to make an idea roll. That's a standard INT check.
Yeah, that is a hard success.
Okay.
10 out of 75, I got an extreme.
When he says that no soldiers or officials ever come here, you're like, well, doesn't your tax assessor come once a year?
Yeah.
That'd be a Roman official with probably a couple of soldiers.
And they definitely don't miss that appointment.
Yes, so Macrion just like turns and looks at him and says, "But you are good Roman citizens, yes? The tax collector does not come
He
at least once a year."
You see the blood drain away from his face. And he says, I suppose they would if they knew the village was here.
How could you miss it?
And how would they miss it?
He says, we're just a small speck off the main road. Like I said, we don't have much dealings with outsiders.
He says
and none of us are really volunteering to go into Aqua Soleus and fill out paperwork. I mean, most people were barely getting by as it is. If we had to pay taxes every year, half these farmsteads would fail.
Has anyone in the surrounding area, anyone that you're familiar with, not as happy with Roman rule as a good citizen such as yourself?
Not that I know of. It's not that we aren't happy with Roman rule. It's just, I mean, why should we pay taxes? We don't even have a link to the main road.
Let me put this to you. If they knew of the town and insisted you pay taxes, that could be ruinous, especially since Rome insists on a specific tax rate. If someone else came and offered to take a lower rate in exchange for not exposing your town, is that a conversation that you've ever had with somebody, Hugh?
No, we've never had anybody. We've never had to bribe an official. They just don't know that we're here.
they didn't know you were here.
Right. He says it also is part of the problem. If we were on the tax rolls, we could go to Rome for official help. We can't. We haven't paid, this village hasn't paid taxes in generations. It's not like we can ask Rome to send food relief when we're not on the tax rolls. He says we're either, we're like it or not, because of that, we're all on our own here. And because of the year we're having, most of us will, likely starve if we don't acquiesce.
And made more vulnerable to outside forces that could take advantage of you.
He says, I suppose you're right in that respect.
Rome is harsh, but there is a fairness to them. I suppose that under the right circumstances, they could be convinced to be lenient with you in exchange for help dealing with a subversive element such as this creature attacking Roman citizens.
I mean, I suppose we would be amenable to speaking with our local tax collector if we had an ally, if we had a good Roman citizen such as yourself willing to speak up for us and explain the situation.
I would be more than willing to add my voice to helping you.
Do you think that they would send aid? He says many of these families will be on the brink of starvation come first snowfall.
I think Rome sees the villages I think it sees Britain and the villages here as an investment, and with the proper arguing, they can be convinced to support their investment here.
Make a persuade.
That is a success.
He says he offers his hand.
Yep.
He says, I'll speak to the other families quietly. I don't know how much time we have. But
we're going to start trying to work on that end of things.
He says, I'll make sure that I'll make sure that everyone holds their ground for a few more days.
Thank you.
He says, I appreciate what you're trying to do for my son.
Thank you. He can be helped. There is an underlying issue that can be fixed, but right now we have to deal with this. And then I promise I will come and try to, at the very least, teach you what you need to know to give him the treatment he requires, once it's safe to do so.
Right. Like if this kid was in Aqua Soleus, he'd be fine in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's known for their healing springs. There's a lot of, medical facilities there, but in a damp, environment such as this, it would be riskier. So you've now solved the riddle of why the stag chose this village.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's
not contact with Romans.
Doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they feel vulnerable and they're being taken advantage of by mafia.
Except that now the Romans know about it.
Well, they will, Lou.
Well, the soldiers were here. I don't know
Yeah,
that
the soldiers went back. They're going to report all that.
Yeah, they'll probably have to make a report, and then somebody might say, "You guys were where?"
Mm-hmm.
But then again, they may not. The town is avoided.
Oh, they lost 2 people. They're making this report.
Yeah, they've got to make a report.
Yeah, like those soldiers were worth money in training and all kinds of things. That's not going to get.
Gonna be a field supervisor.
What we all have to do is figure out now.
All right, so we can say that these 2 scenes are done, unless you had anything else you wanted to do at this farm.
Not in front of these people at Macrion. I'd like to just basically confirm whether we believe that if this is an outside force, not in front of these people. I don't want to say it in front of them.
So you're leaving this farm and heading back to meet up with everyone else, and you could have that conversation away from everyone.
Macrion and Votemos. Yes.
Yep.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, then we can meet up and go to the ruins.
I mean, if you want to have the conversation before we meet up with them, then yeah.
Yeah, just to basically confirm something we chatted about that. Do we think it's an outside druid, or is it a cultist inside of Aqua Soleus taking advantage of these people?
They say they haven't seen anyone. They don't get any visitors. So it doesn't seem as if someone through here has put the screws to them, but it is possible.
Now, I don't think we have enough. We've gathered enough information as to the actual what's going on. So we have to hit those ruins. That is one of the biggest red flags out there. I think we'll find information, and that may confirm whether or not it's a person doing this that has brought this ruin to the town, or if it's something that's naturally occurring.
It certainly doesn't seem natural by all accounts. Whether or not it is a magic user who has reanimated the stag, or if it is some elder creature that is using the stag for its own purposes, that is yet to be determined.
Or a cultist trying to bring back a dead religion.
That is also true.
We have a mundane, well, not mundane, but we have your garden variety we have your garden variety protection racket. Possible fermenting rebellion against Rome, or
I
an
don't know,
actual
because
god trying to get worship.
I think it's more like either the bringing back of a dead cult or religion, or something, or they've upset something. I don't think it's a rebellion against Rome, because it's not trying to entice rebellion at all. It's trying to keep them quiet as possible, without contact. So I got, and it's not asking them for any kind of monetary return. It's asking for human sacrifice. That screams out.
And food tribute.
And food tribute. That's not wealth. That's food tribute and sacrifice. That's more.
Well, it can feed, humans. They're taking people, and if they have their own people, it's taking. Gold is only useful if you can buy food with it. So they're foregoing the money and taking just the goods they were going to purchase with it. I lean almost towards a criminal enterprise.
All right, so I'm going to say that you guys are all back together, and you can share this information. You're back at the farm. All of these meetings have taken the entire morning, so it's now like towards midday.
Do we even know that the people that have been sacrificed are actually even dead?
We don't.
What if something else is happening with them? Getting sold
You don't.
off?
All you know is that one
like
person got led away.
The only people that we know, who do we know that's actually been killed? The soldiers, but that would kind of make sense because they're a threat. If we're going with Curtius's suggestion that this is a racket, it would make sense to the soldiers. Did we see the whole household that was killed? Did we see those bodies at all? That
couldn't find
were human bodies.
Curtius looked, but couldn't find any remains.
Are we meeting back there? Yeah.
I'm going to go back and look more closely. Doreena, do you want to come? Yeah, Doreena, whoever else is good at looking at that kind of stuff.
I'm good.
I as well would be very interested in searching this area.
All right, so you're going to spend about an hour combing over the ruins of the farm. Everyone make spot hiddens and tracking rolls.
I would like to. I'm not looking for bodies necessarily. I want to look for marks and markings on the barn, on the house, if there's still a house there.
I made the spot hidden, but I did not make the tracking.
Okay, you're gonna need hards or extremes. On which tracking?
08 out of 77.
Yeah, I had a hard and spot hidden.
Spot hidden.
Nothing on tracking.
I got a hard on tracking. I failed my spot.
All right.
I'm a hard on spot.
All right, so now that it's daylight, because Curtius, you looked this over at twilight. Now that it's midday, you start to see signs in the wreckage that people were here, like blood, ripped clothing. You find a severed hand, but it looks like the bodies have all been taken. Those of you who made a hard tracking, you see, even though it's been like 3 days or 4 days and there's been rain, you do manage to spot a number of these large cloven hoof prints leading away, here and there around the farm. And they seem to either come from or go back to the forest. It's hard to tell because it doesn't have a standard gait of a four-legged animal.
But it definitely looks like hoof prints. Normal size?
Massive hoof prints. Curious?
Yeah. As far as the body parts that I found, the severed hand, does it look like it was cut or was it torn away? Because that would look like if somebody used an actual weapon to cut it.
Oh, it was bludgeoned away. It looks like someone had their arm trapped under a fallen beam and then had their body pulled away, and the hand was left under, gripping, almost like ripped out of the socket.
Oh yeah. No, that was what I was trying to confirm. Because Dark Young don't use swords.
No, this was dragged. It was pulled out of the socket.
The hoof prints that you said had a strange gait. Is it like the gait of something that maybe was a disguise, and they were trying to make it look like they were walking?
Did you make one of the tracking rolls?
No.
Then you got no idea.
I did make my tracking roll, but it wasn't a hard.
Yeah.
I had an extreme
on tracking.
Yes.
You're fairly certain that whatever left these tracks had 3 legs, and the creature you saw had 3 legs.
Oh yay.
Okay, and that was my question: is whether or not the footprints match the size of the stag.
No.
So they're bigger than what the
Elephantine.
stag.
These are elephantine prints.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
What?
The
Those
dark
are massive cloven hoof prints.
Wait. Can I?
The stag did not do this.
Can I recall, Oscar, from my previous experience with that very large thing that I encountered and set fire to one time? Did it have 3?
It did
3
have 3 legs. 3 cloven, 3 massive cloven hoof prints.
No.
So your suspicion has just gotten a little zeroed in that this may be another one of those creatures that you encountered so many years ago.
I'm making a sanity roll.
The creature that still haunts your nightmares.
06. I rolled an 06. How much do I lose?
You're fine.
You just have to deal with your internal demons. That's all.
A massive shiver just goes up my spine.
Internal screaming.
And at least you have an idea of what it is.
Your scars have calcified.
But okay, if that's what it is, then now game over, man.
So I want to just take a detailed look at the hooves, just for curiosity reasons. Just so if we do go out anywhere, I'd be able to spot them a little bit better.
Okay. I'll allow it.
So Malachi,
what would I roll for that, or nothing?
Oh, it's fine. You don't need to
Okay.
roll for that.
Right.
Cool.
So do we want to head out while it's? I would suggest.
Well, considering the fact that it is now 11 p.m., I don't think we have time to do a full scene of heading off into the dark forest.
Yeah, we want to try to do that during daylight too.
Right, yeah. You'd probably get towards the dry riverbed as the sun was going down.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a perfect time.
You're right.
Just thinking ahead, what's it going to take to make flamethrowers with the technology we have available?
If someone made a craft roll
Bazooka.
and had a repair devise roll and had the necessary materials, you could make flaming pots, which would basically be a clay pot filled with lamp oil, covered with an oil-soaked skin that you then throw and shatter. You light the fur on fire and you throw it and shatter it. They're extremely dangerous to handle if you don't know what you're doing, and none of you have experience with them.
Really?
I do have
feel like
craft
I would.
potion.
You have craft potion?
I do, yeah.
And I mean, I was that
I don't
champion.
think you know how to make Greek fire.
So I
I'm a
have
scholar.
70 in repair device. Sorry.
Right. You don't know if they have clay pots here, and you don't know what kind of supplies of oil they have in this village. These are all common things you can get in Aqua Soleus, but that's a bit of ways. Curious?
All right.
Bear with. Hear me out. I'm well learned. A replica of Archimedes' death ray.
No. That was the
How many
last
mirrors do these
that was
people
the
have?
last campaign
How much
we
copper?
played when you found the Athenian death ray in a cave.
I
I
suggest we
did
go
the
back
death
to-
ray once. That's not this adventure.
I suggest we go back to my plan A. We just bring that scrawny kid that came and visited us last night and just put him out in the woods. Done.
Wait, I have an arms dealer. How do I not know how to make this? Like, come on now.
Because
they make it for you.
Wait, you're an arms dealer? That's so cool.
you buy
Yeah,
weapons from someone. You don't, you don't make weapons.
I have a feeling this might be a case where Oscar
And,
would
and,
love
hunt,
to teach
and
us a
hunting
lesson.
werewolves with flamethrowers. Werewolves are usually where there are other people. It's not,
I'm
I
just
don't know
listen.
if I want to put Greek fire in the middle of a forest.
No, I'm saying burn the whole forest down. That's what I'm saying. Just,
Yeah, but there might be people in there still alive.
yeah, right. Please. You didn't see what I
reaching.
saw.
And keep in mind, it is November, and it's been incredibly wet.
Hmm.
Oh,
Well, it's wet right here.
Curses. Foiled again, Oscar.
Can't we just throw torches at it? Just like
Well, you could throw vials of oil and hurl a torch at it. Sure, you don't have to go through the whole thing of making a firebomb. But then again, how many torches do you have? How much oil do you have?
I have 12 torches.
Forget about the torches.
I
You
got
could double
put 'em
fist
out.
it.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a clay lamp.
And I have a 65 in throw.
Well, you do throw javelins.
Yeah. This is coming along.
All right.
I see a plan is forming?
I wonder if my
What if
spear
we
will
build a trebuchet
No.
and just
There's actually a skill for that, and I'm sure no one of you have it, because I would never give siege engine construction engineering to any pre-gen. That would be like making a pre-gen character that he's
There
a
you go.
chemist.
You
that
could
works
aim it for us.
That works for the company that does dynamite. No. You do. Your character does not have craft at dynamite.
It's like
I had already just suggested a death ray, so yeah, no, I know he's not going to.
it's the Roman version of Tony Stark.
Right.
Which was Archimedes, yes.
And now my spear is special, so hopefully it'll become in handy.
It's
My spear.
enchanted.
Huh? It's
Is your-
enchanted, yeah.
Oh, so you do have an enchanted weapon. Does anyone else have an enchanted weapon?
All
Malachi,
right,
your
high
club,
five.
right?
Wait, yeah, I thought we all got something from those.
Hey, Macrion
jerky
has
fays.
a special Fey spear.
Yeah, I have a face spear too.
No,
Yeah,
I didn't
those
get a
jerks
base
gave me
spear.
something. I don't remember what it was though.
I don't remember what it was either.
I have a knife.
I have something called Charm of the Sun. I don't know what that does though. I never found out. But
I think
that
it was like a minor magical item that gave you a bonus dice on something.
oh yeah, it's a bonus die against magic. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think this was a very investigative heavy session, but you had a lot of answers to get, and now you understand the crisis of the town, and you've negotiated, some allies. You've been able to get them to at least give you the chance to resolve it, but you realize how desperate their situation really is. They can either go along with this thing or they can starve. And because of their tax situation, seeking help from the authorities was not an option.
And really isn't at the moment either, because that's going to take time, and that's something that we don't have.
Right.
So-
Once the crisis is averted, you'll have the fallout crisis of getting them recognized and, getting a tax assessor to come out and be merciful. And also a tax assessor to come out, be merciful, and loan them money to get them to spring. So you might want to pick the character with a lot of fast talk or persuade to negotiate that one.
Yeah, that's not going to be me. I can threaten them, but not persuade.
I mean, could we use status for that?
Yeah, status is good too.
You could use status to throw your weight around, yeah.
Wait, how much would they need?
Village of 200 people to feed them through the winter. If you managed it well and made a bargain roll, I would say anywhere between 500 and 1,000 sesterci.
How much money did we get from?
We got 1,000 each. I
Yeah,
thought.
I was gonna say, like, not to. We could probably help them out with that. Worst comes to worst.
Yo, can you help a brother out? Sure, with that much money.
Well, not all of us still have that much money,
I
but
think Malachi sent most of his back to
yeah.
his family, and I think most of Herminius is with a prostitute in.
Yeah.
Isn't it always the way?
He had a lot of fun when in that stopover in Londinum.
I got 25 sesterci to my name.
Where they ended up finding a gambling den with a brothel upstairs, and they were there for a few nights in a row.
But I mean, we could offset it, right? So maybe they wouldn't need as big of a loan.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we could use that to our
Or you
advantage
could
talking to the
literally
tax
you could try
assessor.
and you could fund their efforts yourselves.
Without having to get a tax
or make a deal and go halves on it with the tax assessor.
Yeah, a quick a gift to the tax assessor would not go awry.
That would grant a gift to the tax assessor would grant you a bonus dice. A gift to the tax assessor with being willing to pay half of what they need would be 2 bonus dice.
Yeah.
But
You've got to survive everything in the forest to get to that point. So let's shelve this conversation.
Tell the villagers we pay for everything, keep us alive.
So the next session is probably going to be the horror of the forest. And the session after that will be the horror of Roman taxes.
So the next session is the 16th, correct?
The next session is the 16th.
Okay.
And the session after that will be the 30th, which will likely be the last game I run in 2020.
Nice.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
We're all still alive here.
Mhm.
Well, I'm sorry we didn't get into any combat, but I think that there was a lot of investigating to get to.
Yeah, but
And I think you did great. You really found out everything you really needed to. So
this is Cthulhu. If we're fighting all the time, then we're kind of doing
something's
it
gone wrong.
Yeah.
This is the smoothest our Cthulhu adventure has ever gone.
Well, you guys are all. This is like an all-star team. You know. These aren't some randos I picked up at a con. These are all my talented people who are new to my game and my hardcore bros. So yeah. This is a Cthulhu Invictus dream team right here. But no, I'm glad that you grasped the desperation of these villagers. I mean, they're not siding with this, these cultists because they have much of a choice. They which I think is the really sad part of the whole thing.
Mhm. I mean, I feel like we probably have to try to somehow then shield the farm that took the deal. Assuming we live and we get the tax assessor and all that other stuff, that they don't suffer repercussions when they feel like, they had no other choice.
If you guys talk them up to the others and say, we couldn't have done this without their help, that would just take a persuade roll or an oratory roll.
And
And frankly, they're the ones that are going to have to live with what they did.
Yeah, I mean, if this goes the way that
Or
Herminius and Curtius are thinking too, and they're being duped basically, I don't think anybody is going to be like, well, I mean, you got away with, only killing one child. Like,
Yeah.
That's true too, I guess.
Curious? Curtius?
I do think that yes, the family that sacrificed the child, if the child's even dead, but the family that sacrificed the child, they are trying to. They're not like trying to be lords over the town or take over or wear antlers on their head and be kings. They're trying to spread the wealth around.
Right.
A villain in a story I wrote, they'd be wandering around in antlers and goat leggings, throwing their weight around.
Yeah.
Oh my God. They'd be eating human flesh at this point.
Yeah.
When in Rome.
Have you praised the stag today?
All right. So I think we have some announcements. And
Yes. So we want to thank everybody for checking this out. We do have coffee for sale still. It's the legendary brew. It's a nice, easy drinking medium roast. I have to put in an order. I've been forgetting all week, so I have to put that in. I'm almost completely out, so that's gonna suck. If you use the code Legends10, you get 10% off your order, and shipping is always free. That also applies to the other Birds brews as well. The Night Owl blend is a fantastic dark roast. I don't do the dark roast anymore because there's not a lot of caffeine in it, and what's the point, kind of, right? Like, I need all the caffeine I can get, so whatever. So do that. We have our Patreon, so if you would like to throw a couple of sesterces our way or some, fishy smelling, maybe oddly colored gold, if you have that laying around, that's cool too. If not, again, this is a time of COVID when we're recording, so completely understandable. It is what it is. But ratings and reviews on iTunes are free, and they help us out a tremendous amount. People are getting all their Spotify wrap-up stuff end of the year. So, reviews in places like that are immensely helpful for us. If you're listening to this, if you're watching this live in the next couple of days, month or so, the Lovecraft Arts and Science Council is doing a GoFundMe right now. Providence is a tourist destination. They are taking a hit as well right now with all the COVID stuff. The building that the Lovecraft Arts and Sciences building is in is completely empty except for the bookstore at this point. They're doing a GoFundMe right now to raise some funds to pay taxes, pay for stock, pay their employees, and if you enjoy going to conventions, and hopefully we get to do that next year, Necronomicon is next year, so we want to make sure that there is some fundage for that as well. That is an amazing convention. If you've never been, you should go. It's a lot of fun. All of our people are there. It's a really great weekend.
It's Woodstock for Cthulhu nerds.
Right.
it's our Coachella.
Right. Niels is the head of that whole operation, and of course there are many sundry people that help along with that, and they were all volunteers. So if you are so inclined, they can use your help right now. $10, $20, whatever, it helps to go a long way to make sure that they stay open. So we hope that you do that as well. Do that instead of giving us money for Patreon, because quite honestly, I'd rather go to Necronomicon next year. So,
especially now that we found the tiki bar.
Yeah,
I know, right? Well, I don't know. Are we going to share a big giant copper bowl?
Oh, hell yes! Hell yes!
I don't know. Do we want to do that? Maybe we could.
We'll be inoculated by then. They say that every American could be inoculated by June. So
as long as everybody quarantines.
Necronomicon is in August. I'm hoping to have my my vaccine in June.
And alcohol is sterile.
If it's high enough proof, hell yeah.
I need to be around my people. I need to do karaoke in a room full of Cthulhu nerds.
Nice.
Once every 2 years for my soul.
Yeah.
Right, Oscar. We'll do our best to make your soul's needs met.
And we're updating live as we're in the chat here. So the fundraiser is halfway to its goal right now. So that
More
is
than
awesome.
half.
Well, more than half.
Yeah, more
Yep.
than half.
Sweet. So
I've been
we thank
peeking at it.
you for doing that. And I should also point out there's a link in the. I'm going to put a link in the show notes for that as soon as we get off the air. The link for the coffee is in the show notes as well. Or you can go to tinyurl.com/legendary brew. So again, thanks everybody for checking this out, doing all the things, and we'll catch you next time.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Peace.
And end.